Good evening, residents of Everett, Washington. I would like to call to order the Everett City Council meeting of October 20th, 2021. And in accordance with the Governor's Healthy Washington guidelines and in an effort to protect city employees and members of the public from transmission of COVID-19, the City Council is conducting our weekly council meeting remotely. We are prepared to reopen the council chambers to public meetings when the public health considerations indicate it is safe to do so. There are several ways in which you can engage with the council and participate in our meetings. You may watch or participate in our remote meetings by watching live on Comcast Channel 21 or Frontier Channel 29. You may also watch live online at www.everettwa.gov/citycouncil, where you may also watch past meetings. You may call in to listen to the live meeting at any point by dialing 425-616-3920 with the conference ID 724-887-726#. You may find the public comment registration form on the City of Everett website under the City Council Department. Once you go to the click on the link that says register here to provide comment via Zoom, you'll need to fill the form out completely if you wish to provide public comment at a future meeting. After the public comment form is submitted, you'll receive an email confirmation with the Zoom link and the phone number to the meeting. Participants must submit the form at least 30 minutes prior to the meeting. Forms submitted after that time will not receive the Zoom link and number to speak, but may still participate the day of the meeting by submitting comments in writing to council@everettwa.gov. For assistance, please contact the council office at 425-257-8703 or email Deb Williams at dwilliams@everettwa.gov. Please note that we do not allow comments on any kind of campaigning, whether for or against ballot measures or candidates running for office. We also do not accept comments focused on personal matters that are unrelated to city business. Outside of our meetings, members of the public are always welcome to contact council members or provide comments or concerns on any matter via email at council@everettwa.gov or by calling the City Council office at 425-257-8703. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Franklin.
Excused.
Councilmember Bader.
Here.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Voguely.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Murphy.
I'm here.
Councilmember Tui.
Here.
President Stonecipher.
Here. I would like to call on Councilmember Bader to read the land acknowledgement this evening.
Thank you, Council President. The City Council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Stokoksha people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people's stories and voices to form a more just and equitable society.
Thank you. And Councilmember Moore, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of October 13th, 2021?
Member Bader, so moves.
Roberts, second.
I have a motion and a second for the minutes. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Voguely.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Abstain.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Mayor Franklin is excused this evening, so we'll move on to council comments and liaison reports, starting with Councilmember Bader.
No comments or reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Roberts.
Thanks, President Stonecipher. 2 items. First, I filled in for Scott Murphy, who had another meeting last night. So I attended the Delta neighborhood meeting. Had a great presentation on trees. I gave a presentation on various issues, including rethink housing and a comp plan update and so on. Also discussed Baker Heights. They will be coming back with a presentation on their master plan, and that has been something that many folks have been looking forward to, and I think you've probably seen some emails on that. So that will come forward. Very excited about that. GGLO architects have done a good job with that. So the other thing, I just don't want to hold up the consent agenda, but I really want to call out some excellent transportation work, including and in particular item 7, which is dollars for EV charging infrastructure, working with the PUD. There's about $728,000 there. Item number 8 has to do with grant funds for consolidated grants from the Department of Transportation for special needs funding, and there's $1.5 million plus there. And the green transportation grant in the amount of $2.4 million. All good things. I just wanted to make sure the public is aware of the great work our folks are doing and moving us in the direction. And these are all things that are consistent with our plans and our climate action plan as well. So that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Voguely.
I'm here. Okay. Hi. I remember. Hi. Hello, everybody. I remember last week I asked about speed bumps and trajectory, and I don't know if y'all took me seriously, but I was serious, and I haven't gotten a response. But I did look up on YouTube people going super fast over speed bumps, and it turns out that really no matter how fast you're going, you just keep going, and you don't even like fly. So I mean, it looked like wheels maybe got 3 inches off of the speed bump. And I say that because if you're not too worried about if your car is going to be hurt, then a speed bump is not really going to matter. If you are speeding and you just want to speed and you don't care if you're running into the cars that are parked on Norton Avenue, it's going to happen. So I think maybe a chicane might, if that's even how you pronounce it, be a benefit in that area, and or even a one-way street. So I just wanted to put that out there. That's all well, yes, and I missed the Lowell neighborhood, but I think Scott Bader gets to talk about that. So that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
No comments, no questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, Council colleagues and staff and community members. First, want to thank Councilmember Roberts for covering the Delta neighborhood meeting last night. I was double booked with a Port Gardner neighborhood meeting, and it was their first in-person meeting in a year and a half, and they really wanted me to be there. So was glad to participate in that. There was a great presentation at that meeting at Port Gardner last night from one of the city staff engineers in the Public Works Department, Christina Curtis, who gave an update on the city's bicycle master plan. Really good presentation, as well as a nonprofit representative from an organization called sharingwheels.org, which is a local nonprofit that some of you may be familiar with. And their tagline is keeping people and bikes moving. And it's all about bicycle education, empowerment, and sustainability. So a great presentation by both of those organizations at the neighborhood meeting, and would encourage other neighborhoods, if they're looking for interesting topics, to reach out to Christina Curtis and the folks at sharingwheels.org. Second, I have 4 items tonight, so that was first. Second, I do want to request an update from Ryan Sass and Bob Leonard, I believe, at Public Works and Parks. And this has to do with our street and alley vacation funds. We have some projects that have been underway this year, and adding sidewalks and some other parks related projects. And I was starting to look at our budget book for 2022, and I'll get to the budget in just a minute, but we have nothing that I can see budgeted within our street and alley vacation funds for 2022. So it got me wondering, okay, what's the status of the current projects underway? So I thought maybe to start that dialogue, if in the next week or two, we could get an update from staff on those street and alley vacation projects that are underway in 2021. And maybe if they could give us a glimpse or an idea of some things on the horizon, we might consider looking at that as part of our budget for 2022. And as I say, there's nothing currently budgeted, but there are some funds available in that separate fund. So look forward to that. The third item, just wanted to give everybody a heads up that tomorrow, October 21st at 10:21 a.m., there is a statewide drill of the earthquake and tsunami warning systems, some of which are new in the state, and we're all invited to drop cover and hold at 10:21. And in particular, for those of us in Everett who might be near the waterfront tomorrow at 10:21, don't be alarmed. There will be a test of the two new tsunami warning sirens that were put in this year by the port. And so if you hear those sirens at 10:21, you'll know that's part of the statewide drill. So the fourth thing, I mentioned the budget. I just want to, as budget chair, I want to make sure everyone understands that we are going to start having some in-depth discussions. Council members last week, I believe, got our budget books. I've started going through mine. I'd encourage everyone to start going through your books and flagging things that you want to talk about. We'll have our first budget presentation and discussion with staff on November 10th. That'll be the first of 3 planned meetings. And if we decide we need more, we can certainly schedule those. But the goal is to have those completed by early December so that we're in a position to approve a budget. And just wanted to give you a heads up that that's coming up November 10th. So that concludes my report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Chewy.
I have no report and no comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will just report that I attended Monday night, I attended the Cascade View Twin Creeks Neighborhood Association, where they had a very good turnout for, they do an annual candidate forum. So there were candidates for the city council races, as well as the school board races. And I think that, and the port races, yeah. And so it was nice for those people who live in those neighborhoods to hear from those candidates and ask them questions. That was the extent, or I guess they spent a little time talking about their mini grant, but that was the extent of the meeting. And that's all I have this week. Is there anything to report from administration?
Thank you, Council President Stonecipher. Nick Harper on behalf of City Administration. No report other than appreciated Council Member Murphy's comments related to the street and alley vacations. And so I will work with Ryan Sass and Bob Leonard, and we will get back to you on that, Council Member Murphy. And then next week during administrative update, we will provide a preliminary briefing on staff's work related to the ARPA dollars that the City of Everett has received, I believe, as a request from Council. So look forward to that discussion, and obviously more to follow. With that, nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. And Deb Williams, have we received any? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Moving on to the city attorney, Mr. Hall, do we have anything from you this evening?
Thank you. I don't have anything to report tonight, and there is no executive session. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Deb Williams, have we received any comments from the community for public comment?
Good evening, President Stonecipher. We have no written comment. However, we do have one individual that is prepared to speak. When I call your name, please unmute yourself, turn on your camera if you're able. Please begin by giving your name and city of residence. Please remember to limit your comments to 3 minutes, and at 30 seconds, I will ask you to wrap up. Colton, please go ahead.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Colton Davis, and I am a resident of the Port Gardner neighborhood here in Everett. In light of Everett passing the Rethink Housing Plan, my comments tonight focus on missing middle housing. I'd like to start by posing a rhetorical question to the council, which is, who builds our cities? The answer to this question has changed a lot in America's cities and towns as the post-war suburban experiment took hold. Let's take Oakland, California, for example. Small-time developers in the 1960s built hundreds of small apartment buildings on scattered lots around the city, many of them replacing older single-family homes. At least a third of these developers appeared to have no real estate industry ties, and by and large, these projects did not involve the practices such as land assembly, typical of corporate developers who build at larger scales today. But the immediate post-war era was the last gasp for small-time developers. Since then, the development business has consolidated. There are fewer builders than ever, but they work at larger scales than ever. Urban land costs have skyrocketed, requiring larger projects to turn a profit. Wall Street exercises unprecedented influence over what gets built where. In older cities like Everett, a wave of downzonings in the 1970s through the 1990s froze neighborhood evolution, rendering most of what was built in the past illegal to replicate today. No one of these things is the culprit, nor are these factors independent of each other. They are all deeply interlinked. A phrase we hear often in conversations centered around housing is missing middle housing. The phrase missing middle, as I'm sure you know, describes a key physical consequence of the missing small developer ecosystem. The term refers to certain building types, such as small apartment buildings, multi-unit houses, simple mixed-use structures with a storefront and a residence that were the building blocks of those blossoming 19th century metropolises, but that are scarcely produced anymore. They are not friendly to the business model of production builders and big finance, which is predicated on vast amounts of institutional complexity and debt. The point of all of this is to ask, what do we have to do to get the small scale developers back in numbers that will make a difference? How do we get our urban pollinators working again? Even a cursory look at this question and you're disabused of the notion that there's one silver bullet. Is it a zoning problem? Is it a lack of access to finance? Is it high land costs? Is it a lack of people with appropriate training and skills to do this work? The truth is it's all of these things, and each one exacerbates the others in complex ways. If there's a simple answer to the question, where did all the incremental developers go? It's that incremental development is no longer any sort of path of least resistance to making money in real estate. It requires overcoming unusual, intersecting, and overlapping obstacles to make it work. So how do we rebuild it, you might ask? By rethinking zoning, land use, and parking regulations. I have a lot more to say, but to close it up, I implore Everett City's leadership to take bold and decisive action to make missing middle housing possible. These bold and decisive actions I speak of include introducing parking maximums, rezoning our neighborhoods to be more inclusive, and developing a form-based code to help guide and expedite future development. And with all that said, I'd like to close by stating I was disheartened to hear Councilmember Stonecipher's comments during the October 6th meeting, where she implied that homeowners are more invested in the community than renters. As someone who considers themselves to be a lifelong renter, I can say with certainty that I am equally as invested in my community as any homeowner on my block, and I hope Councilmember Stonecipher rethinks her position. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. That is all I have to speak up this evening, President Stonecipher.
Thank you. We will move on now to our consent agenda. Do I have a motion for the 10 consent items?
Roberts moves the 10 consent items.
Murphy seconds.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Voguely,
Yes, but also thank you, Colton, for speaking tonight.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy,
Yes.
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. We have one item on for proposed action. It's a second reading, so I'm not going to read it. Do we have any questions on the one item that is proposed, item number 11? If so, unmute yourself and make yourself known. Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda as noted at the start of this meeting and provided on our screen. You may contact Deb Williams in the City Council offices if you would like to speak at a future meeting. She will give you the instructions for watching, listening, or participating. She can be reached by phone at 425-257-8703 or by email at dwilliams@council, Everett, not council, dwilliams@everettwa.gov. And with no further business and no executive session, we are now adjourned.